To understand word order, we have to understand parts of speech, or different kinds of words. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the two most basic and necessary parts of speech, nouns and Nouns are usually defined as a person, place, or thing. They are what the sentence is about, the characters, if you will. Some common nouns include cat, dog, boy, girl, school, home, book, pencil, and so on. See if you can come up with some more nouns in the practice assignment in this. Verbs tell us what our characters are doing. Most verbs are actions like run, stand, jump, etc. But sometimes our characters aren't doing any actions. They might think, or look, or seem, or they might just be. This is important because be is probably the most commonly used verb in English. See if you can come up with some more verbs in the practice assignment in this lesson. To understand how nouns and verbs fit into sentences, you need to know one more word, phrase. A phrase is basically part of a sentence, like black cat or hides under a bush. These are groups of words which by themselves are not sentences. Phrases are usually defined by the most important word they have. For example, black cat is a noun phrase because its most important word, cat, is a noun. We know that cat is the most important word because black is just telling us more about the cat. The phrase hides under a bush is a verb phrase because the verb is the most important word, hides. The other words in the phrase are just telling us more about the hiding. Noun phrases and verb phrases are the most important types of phrases because every sentence needs them. So, how do we make a sentence? Let's look at our sentence X-ray. I'm going to start with an S at the top for sentence and draw lines from that S to each of the smaller parts. As we've already said, every sentence needs a noun phrase and a verb phrase, which I'm going to write as NP and VP. Other people will call this a subject and a predicate, but I prefer noun phrase and verb phrase because I think they make more sense. The names remind us that every sentence needs a noun and a verb. These phrases can have other words in them, but a noun phrase always has a noun and a verb phrase always has a verb. So we get sentences like John runs. Confused? Let's look at a few more. Here's a list of English sentences. Mary swims, Jake walks, Connor eats, Beth sings. Each of these sentences has a noun and a verb. Did you notice anything else about the word order of our sentences? The noun always comes first. So first we introduce our character, and then we tell what the character is doing. Sometimes a noun comes after the verb, like in this sentence, Connor eats rice. Now we have a noun before the verb and another noun after. Let's look at the X-ray to see if we can clear this up a bit. Our sentence is still made of a noun phrase and a verb phrase, but now there is another noun in the verb phrase. That's okay because we still have the noun that comes before the verb. What if I say Connor eats the plant? Now I have an extra word in here. This is called an article, and it usually comes before a noun that is not a name. The book, the car, the cat, etc. But if we look at the X-ray, we see it pretty much has the same structure as the last sentence. What if I move the words around? Now I have eats the plant Connor. If we look at our sentence X-ray, we see that we should have a noun phrase at the front here, but we don't. So this is not a good English sentence. Finally, what if I move the words around some more? Now I have the plant eats Connor. This is a correct English sentence, but it means something entirely different than our first one. This is why word order is so important. If you change your words around too much, you could end up saying something completely different than you meant to. Now, that's a lot of talk, so let's review. Every sentence has a noun phrase and a verb phrase. The noun phrase always has a noun, and the verb phrase always has a verb. A verb has a noun phrase in front of it, and the noun phrase does what the verb says. Nouns that are not names usually have an article like the in front of them. Think you know a good English sentence when you see one? Test yourself with a practice assignment in this lesson.